In this video, we are going to continue on with the main tag. So the main tag represents the dominant content of the body of a document. So the main content area consists of content that is directly related to or expands on the topic of a document. So the central content of the page. Okay, so here you have an example main tag here, and then inside of it you might have paragraphs of content or images in there. Okay, so you have the main, which is the main body. So let's take a look at some websites here. I'm just gonna exit out of this. There we go. And if you go take a look, so the Web Campus page, this would be the header probably, and over here we have the nav, right? And the rest of it is probably all inside of a main tag. Now, when you're using a main tag, just do be aware that some browsers still don't recognize the main tag yet. Most of them do, but if you're having trouble, your CSS not working, it could be because you're using a main tag. Okay, so some browsers haven't caught up yet. Anyway, so where the main tag would go, let's wrap it around our paragraph. So main, here we go. And after that, here, main, there we go. And I'm going to take out the horizontal line, okay? So the main tag, inside the main tag, I have my paragraph here. All right, so let's take a look. Look at how neatly my code is organized, okay? I've made indents, meaning I've made spaces here, okay? From the left hand side. And why have I done that? So I can see what is nested inside of what. So on the outer, I have the HTML begins here, and right away I can see that it ends at the very end just by glancing at it. I can see that my head starts here, my head tag starts here and ends here. And inside of it I have these links, okay, links and title tags. And then my body is here. Where does it end? Down here. Okay, and inside my body I have header. And inside the header, I have an H1 tag. Okay, on the same kind of level as the header, I have a nav. Inside my nav, I have 3 paragraphs, which will be links at a later time. And then inside my main, I have a paragraph in there. So when I make indents like this, my code is clean and it's easy to see what's in what. All right. Okay, so moving on, let's go back to my PowerPoint here. All right, so next is section. A section tag is used to represent a standalone section of a document, which doesn't have more specific kind of element tags to describe it. Sections should always have a heading with very few exceptions. Okay, so let's go take a look at some examples of what a section could be. Let me see. Maybe an example would be, let's go look at New York Times. Okay, so let's go look at New York Times website. So here we go. So this could be a section here, okay, with an image on one side, a heading on one side, and then a paragraph on one side. That could be one section. This could be another section here. Okay, each of these could be a section. All right, and of course everything here is probably inside of a main. All right, and up here we have the header, okay, then here we have the nav. All right, let's go back to our PowerPoint and take a look at the next one, okay, which is the headings. Okay, headings, there's H1 and H6, the HTML section heading elements. So the H1 and H6 represents the 6 levels of section headings. H1 is the highest, so I've used H1 already in my index.html page where I use it for the main heading. This is Yin's page or something like that. And then if you're going to use a subheading, it must always be the H2 after H1, and after that it will be the H3. Don't ever pick a heading because you like the size of it or how it looks. Okay, you can always change how it looks or size of it in the CSS. Use it semantically. Make sure that it has meaning because it has to be related. So you know that H3 is under H2, H2 is under H1 directly, right? So it needs to be organized that way. So for example, if I'm to add another heading in here in my main, okay, then I would use H2. This is a subheading, okay? And that's inside of my main, okay? And going back here, so remember to use this sequentially. Use H1, and if you need another subheading underneath that, use H2. And in the H2 section, if you need even further more subheadings, then use H3. And inside that H3, if it needs to be even more granular, at H4, okay? Next, we have something called aside. So what is aside? Aside is something that represents a portion of document whose content is only indirectly related to the document's main content. So asides are usually when you need sidebars or call out boxes, and they will look like this, aside. Okay, so if you need something on the side, like a sidebar, let's go see if New York Times has that. Okay, so maybe this whole thing is the opinion piece, maybe is a side, okay? So on the side. All right, next we have something called article. Now that's interesting. Article is a self-contained composition in a document or page, or what page, that is intended to be independently distributed or reused. So examples are like a forum post, a magazine or newspaper article, a blog entry or product cart, user submitted content, interactive widget, things like that. So if you go to New York Times, so each one of these are probably articles. They can be standalone. If they're not on this page, it still makes sense, okay? So another example are blog posts, things like that. On its own, it is still its own page or its own section. It can exist without the rest of the page. That would be then use, you would use the article tag for that. All right. Okay, and then moving on, you have a footer. Okay, and that's the last one that I wanted to look at today before I go to the source. So what is a footer? Footer contains information about the author of the section, copyright data, links to related documents. Usually have your social media icons in there, right? Okay, so let's go take a look at the footer here. Very bottom. So here's your footer. No, at the very, very bottom. Oh, it keeps going. There we go. So this could be the footer. You have your copyright information and then some kind of secondary links down here. Sometimes in the footer you have social media icons, and some people even have things like address, phone number, contact information also in the footer. So let's go add a footer to our page here. Okay, so at the very bottom I'm going to have footer and say created by, of course you add your name to it, okay, September 2021, okay, and that would be your footer. Okay, now I'd like you to save it again, and once again please upload using CyberDuck. Okay, so I'll show you that again. You would make sure that you've added a header, you've added nav, you've added the main, your paragraph is in main, you have a H1 in your header and an H2 in your main, okay, and you also have a footer. All right, then you finally save it, okay, save all that, and then you go to CyberDuck and you would upload, okay, and navigate to your folder or your file. Okay, go, and here we are, index, and choose, and okay, it's asking to override, let it override. All right, and there we have it. So now when you go and view that on your on the server, okay, so it doesn't look that great because we don't have CSS yet, but here are the changes that we have made.